News that's coming in at the moment, it's Prime Minister Narendra Modi who said in an interview with an agency that this year's budget reflects India's earning to become a developed nation. Stronger manufacturing, stronger services and the MSMEs, all of them will enable India to negotiate trade pacts from a position of strength. Prime Minister Modi also spoke about the fact that now we have FTAs, that is free trade agreements, with close to 38 nations. Political stability, political predictability, that is something that has now been restored, and there is investor confidence that is now coming back in India. India now is looking at a stronger manufacturing, stronger service sector, MSMEs, all of them together will make sure that India is able to negotiate trade pacts from a position of strength. Government will do whatever it takes to support the country's defense forces and strengthen them. India witnessing most expansive infrastructure push in history, built with future readiness in mind. India will be strong and will be prepared for all times. Prime Minister Modi spoke about the defense budget and the modernization in defense that is taking place. Government extremely sensitive to the well-being of the servicemen. This is what Prime Minister Modi has said. Prime Minister Modi also said we are living in post-pandemic world, which is opening the doors for India now. Incentives along with tariff preferences, they can catalyst growth, but the durable competitiveness is also something that one needs to look at. This is something that Prime Minister Modi has been speaking over the past few months. He's now pushing the Indian companies to make sure that they do QC, that is quality control. India's quality control is something that now needs to be looked at. Innovation, efficiency and the scale of the kind of production that India has been doing, that is something that the industry now needs to very closely look at. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, when he spoke about the budget, also said that none of the budgets are run-of-the-mill bahi khatas, documents. That is not the approach of the BJP. India's good exports have repeatedly broken earlier records in recent years. The next leap is for India to become Viksit Bharat. That will depend on how bold investment comes in from the private sector. Innovation is something that the private sector needs to look at, long-term capacity and global competitiveness. That is something that the corporate world will now need to very closely look at. Prime Minister Modi has now slammed the Congress party and the kind of mismanagement that they did over the past many decades. Prime Minister Modi to PTI said the UPA era economic mismanagement hurt us. Prime Minister Modi also said reform is my government's commitment. That is something that the government will not be backing down from. Prime Minister Modi's pitch for the private sector is to step up, is to level up. Prime Minister Modi sent a message to the private sector and said you need to invest in quality. So that's something that the BJP has been very keenly looking at. In fact, Prime Minister Modi over the past few months has been hinting at the fact that quality is something that the Indian manufacturers, Indian producers will now very closely have to look at. Prime Minister Modi also spoke about the fact that the kind of economic mismanagement that happened during the UPA tenure, that is something that hurt India badly. And it was nothing but just the mismanagement that was being done by the Congress party. Prime Minister Modi very, very clear that reform is the government's commitment, and the idea is to make sure that the policies that the government makes today, those are the policies that will give the push, and the right time implementation of those policies will make sure that India moves from being a developing nation to being a developed nation by 2047. That's the focus of the government at the moment, and that's exactly what Prime Minister Modi has also been hinting at. Reform, that has often been the key word in most of the places where Prime Minister Modi has spoken, and he's now also saying that for the private sector, it is time now to step up, also asking the private sector to invest in quality. So those are some of the things that Prime Minister Modi has said in his interview to PTI. My colleague Piyush Mishra is now joining me on the story. Piyush, this is an interview that Prime Minister Modi has given to PTI, and very, very clearly he's saying that the private sector now needs to invest in quality. Also, he is saying that the kind of mismanagement that happened during the Congress era, that actually hurt India very badly.
Well, that's right, Ashwin. This is the first interview which Prime Minister has given after the budget. Remember that he also had to speak on the motion of thanks to the President's speech in Lok Sabha, but that speech could not happen. And after that, he spoke in length in Rajasthan, but this is the first interview post-budget where Prime Minister has mentioned about various aspects, be it about the developed be it about the budget reflecting developed nation or about the now or never movement. Prime Minister has also stressed upon the political stability, preparation, inspiration. He has also spoken out strongly about the manufacturing services, MSMEs, and various other things. Prime Minister has highlighted as to how this budget is going to be the milestone in achieving the agenda of Vixit Bharat. And remember that a couple of days back when there was a parliamentary party meeting of NDA, also Prime Minister had said that after the COVID world order has changed and it has completely to fit towards India. So Prime Minister is highlighting that also in his interview. As far as the allegations those have been leveled by opposition on shifting data centers, on that Prime Minister has mentioned that data centers in India will be a massive job creator for youth. He has also added that we invite whole world's data to reside in India, and this is certainly going to have a big boost as far as employment opportunities in India is concerned. Prime Minister has also added that while Reform Express has achieved massive scale of progress, Prime Minister says that this temperament will is not going to satisfy fully because there are more things to be done. So not only about MSMEs or about infrastructure, but also about data centers. Prime Minister is also focusing more on infrastructure push, where he has said that in this budget, India is witnessing most expansive infrastructure push in its history, which is built with future readiness in mind. So from defense budget, from the allocation of defense to the infrastructure boost, a lot of things the Prime Minister has mentioned in his interview to a news agency. And last, in his last, Prime Minister has also slammed the UPA era economic mismanagement, where Prime Minister said that Prime Minister said that UPA era economic mismanagement had left India unable to negotiate from a position of confidence, which means that today we are in a position of confidence and we have been able to negotiate in a confident manner with various countries. Remember that more than 35 FTAs have been signed in the last few years. And the biggest one was the deal which was signed between India and US. So a lot of politics is also taking place on this, where opposition is opposing this. But Prime Minister has stressed on the fact that we have been able to negotiate with various countries with a sense of confidence. Now we'll have to wait for how the opposition is going to react on this interview which has been given by Prime Minister to a news agency.
Right, Piyush, we've also seen how often the top leadership of the BJP has pointed out towards the fact that those policies that were being created by the Congress party, by the UPA era, they actually were economic mismanagement, and that's the reason why India has not been able to move. The government, very, very clear, Prime Minister Modi, in fact, is also now pushing for the private sector to increase, to step up investment, and they're also saying that you just don't need to step up the kind of investment you are doing, you also need to now invest in quality.
Well, that's right. The Prime Minister during the late instructions post budget has been mentioning upon the fact that we need to have a better quality, so that there is a big push for not only infrastructure but also Make in India, and this project can further be sent to various countries. Remember that in the last few months, multiple trade deals have been signed with countries more than 35, and the biggest one was the trade deal which was signed with US. So making India push and how to send out these products to various countries, that has been the name of the main agendas of Prime Minister. Prime Minister has also slammed as to how during UPA rules talks would begin and then break down, but a little real substance achieved despite long negotiations. So we remember as to how the deal with various countries started decades back. And beat about the biggest, the mother of all deals which happened with European Union, it started 2 decades back. But it has been able to successfully come to the table and has been able to successfully negotiate it with European Union only under the Modi regime. So Prime Minister was focusing on that itself, that during UPA era, talks would begin, but it used to break down and little real substance was achieved there despite long negotiations. So not only about what happened during UPA, Prime Minister has also focused more on Vixit Bharat, on private sector, where he has gone on to say that private sector must focus less on protecting margins and invest aggressively in research and development, supply chain quality, so that better quality can be achieved, and further Make in India products can be sent to various countries. And this is coming at a time when we have already signed trade deals with various countries, and the biggest one was the recent trade deal which was signed with US, and with this, according to this trade deal, the tariff has also been brought down from 50% to 18%. So today, Prime Minister in his interview has also mentioned a very important point that India is a digital leader in the world, made possible by fundamental reforms in how people transact via the UPI platform. This is what Prime Minister is focusing on. So be it about Digital India or about Make in India or about the UPI success and also about the kind of budget which we have had a couple of days back. All of points have been covered, and while covering all these points, Prime Minister has planned the economic progress which took place during the UPA rule and now what is happening under this regime.
Right. Thank you, Piyush, giving us all those details. It is Prime Minister Modi who is now saying the role of the woman is most important for Viksit Bharat, also is now pushing the private sector for better quality.